Hey guys, it's Nicola Bird here from alittlepeaceofmind.co.uk. Please excuse my just come out of the garden digging compost look today, but I didn't want to delay by doing wasteful things like brushing my hair. I just wanted to jump in here and create this video for you for the newsletter. So the thing that's been really occurring to me recently is, and I wanted to talk to you about today, is about what it means to actually share the principles. So when I originally bumped into this conversation, I started to understand and be touched by these principles behind the human experience that lie behind all my work here at Little Peace of Mind, lie behind the work of my mentors, my teachers, my colleagues in this community. And we're all pointing to these same, we're using the principles behind the human experience, these three principles to point to something. So the principles being the principle of thought, that our experience is created through thought, that thought is brought to life through consciousness, and that there's a source of all of that, which creates all our experience, known as mind. Now, sharing the principles, it occurred to me, has nothing to do with being able to articulate and explain those words. When I'm sitting with a client, to me, sharing the principles is sharing what they point to. They point to a space, they point to a deeper feeling, they point to pure happiness, they point to lightness and creativity and joy and aliveness. They point to a space that's full of all of that. And so, to me, to share the principles isn't to do a really good job of drawing a diagram or explaining a metaphor, which is obviously some of my favorite things to do, but it's not that. It's sitting with somebody and sharing with them the feeling of that space that the principles point to. Sitting in that space myself, and as I do that with a client, it wakes up in them, and there we are together, not me sharing my understanding of the principles, but us together sharing that space, knowing that space. There is only one space, and both of us are sharing and experiencing it in that moment. And that feeling, that's the space of healing. That's the space where thought rearranges itself. That's the space where our priorities change. It's the space where things stop looking scary all by themselves. It's the space where suddenly clients are hit with an insight or oh my goodness, it's just like this. They suddenly see something for themselves because they're touched by that space. It's really, really simple. So if you have been touched by this understanding and you would love to share it with people around you, I get so many people asking me, well, how do I do that? How do I explain it? Why do people's eyes glaze over? Why aren't people listening? It's like you don't have to get good words to share the principles. You get to sit and be in the space that they point to, be filled up with a deep feeling, and then just go about your life. And as you go about your life, that feeling will start to come alive in the people around you, and then you are sharing what the principles point to together. No words need be said. It's a lot easier than you might think. There's a lot less to do than you might think. And sharing the principles, the fundamental thing I'd love you to take away from this video, sharing the principles isn't me telling you something. Sharing the principles is us sharing the space that the principles point to. A fundamental difference, but a huge and really important difference in my mind. Hopefully I've just made your job a lot easier than it was previously. And hopefully if you're a client who is looking for a different way through your anxiety, this is a bit eye-opening to you, because you think that your job is that someone's going to teach you something and it's going to change your life because they're going to share something with you that you don't already know. And you're not getting results and you're wondering why. It's because it doesn't work that way, this conversation. The person who you're listening to, the person who's podcast you're listening to, the person whose video you're watching, when you're watching Sid Banks, they're inviting you to share that space before thought with them. And if you accept that invitation to drop everything that you think and let that space touch your heart, let it open up inside of you, the space where that speaker is coming from, that space is in you as well. There is only one space. We are all take part in it. We're all from it. If you put aside all your thinking, that space is right there. And in that space, healing happens and you don't have to do a thing. So if you want to be impacted by this conversation, look there, not into the words and trying to understand and take notes on what your teacher is saying. It's before any of that. So come share the principles with whoever you're listening to, the space that it's pointing to. So I really hope this video has been helpful, whether you are a coach or practitioner who's sharing the principles, whether you are a client who would love to be impacted by the principles more deeply, or whether you're just someone who would really love to be able to share the difference this has made in your life with your kids, your colleagues, your family, whoever. Okay, guys, thank you for listening. As ever, let me know if this is helpful to you, and I'll be back again next week. Take care.